The outpost was silent, its metal walls cracked and half buried under sand. The alien girl pressed her small body against the corner, her chest rising fast. She had grown up hearing stories about humans, stories whispered by the elders, warnings, carried from one generation to another. They said humans were monsters. They said humans bite. They said humans devour. Now, one stood right in front of her, tall and shadowed by the broken ceiling light. His boots scraped against the floor as he stepped closer. Every sound made her flinch. Her people had told her never to trust a human, never to look into their eyes, for their gaze alone could break. Your will. Her eyes darted to his mouth. She imagined sharp fangs waiting there, imagined his teeth sinking into her skin. She braced herself, gripping her own arms tight. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it would burst. She whispered to herself, "This is the end. He will bite. He will eat." But when his shadow finally reached her, the expected pain never came. Instead, a warmth brushed her cheek. She froze, opening her eyes in shock. The human's hand, broad, steady, and scarred, was brushing the dust off her face. His touch was gentle, not hungry, not cruel. It made her shiver for reasons she could not name. He crouched lower, his voice calm. "You're hurt," he said softly. She blinked at the sound. It was not the growl of a predator. It was not the mocking laughter of a captor. It was steady, like flowing water. She shook her head, confused. Her kind had always warned. Humans lie before they strike. Still, he pulled out a small pack from his belt. He unwrapped something and held it out. Bread, simple bread. Its smell reaching her nose. Her stomach twisted with hunger, but her fear chained her body still. She pressed back against the wall, shaking her head quickly. "Take it," he whispered. "It's for you." His eyes met hers. They were not the eyes of a beast, but they held something else. Something she didn't understand. A fire that burned yet did not consume. Her lips trembled. She wanted to ask why, but no words came. He broke the bread in half. He took a bite himself, chewed, and then placed the other piece gently on the ground between them. His hand withdrew slowly, giving her space. The alien girl stared. Her people had said humans only fed themselves, never others. Was this another trick? If she touched it, would he pounce? But her stomach betrayed her, growling loud in the silence. Heat flushed her cheeks, and she hated how weak she felt. The human did not laugh at her weakness. Instead, he smiled, not wide, not cruel, just soft. For a moment, her chest tightened. It was the first time she had seen such an expression. She reached slowly, her hand trembling. Her fingers brushed the bread. Her body froze again, waiting for him to strike. But nothing happened. He only watched, his gaze calm. She pulled the bread to her lips and bit. The taste filled her mouth, warm, real, safe. Tears stung her eyes. Why was he feeding her? Why was he not biting? She dared a glance at him again. His mouth had no fangs, only lips curved in quiet relief. The storm outside howled, rattling the broken dome of the outpost. Inside, silence stretched between them, heavy, yet strangely warm. She had prepared for death, but life had come instead. Her thoughts raced. Could all the stories be lies? Could a human be something other than a predator? The way he looked at her made her chest shake. The way his hand had touched her cheek still burned on her skin. She curled her body tighter, still keeping her distance, but her eyes never left him. The fear inside her had not vanished, but something else had joined it. Curiosity. She had braced for his bite, but what she found was a human's hand, a human's bread, and a human's strange kindness. And though her body still trembled, a new question pressed against her heart. If he wasn't going to eat her, what did this human really want? The alien girl could not sleep that night. The human had made a small fire in the broken corner of the outpost, its light dancing across the metal walls. She kept her knees pulled to her chest, eyes wide, watching him. Every move he made set, her heart racing. He sat a few steps away, repairing some tool with his hands. His movements were calm, patient, steady. He had not tried to bite her, he had not chased her. But still, her body refused to relax. Fear was carved deep into her bones. Her people had told her too many stories. They said humans wore false faces, that they could pretend kindness until the moment they struck. She kept waiting for the mask to fall, for him to lunge. The fire crackled and he looked up suddenly. Their eyes met. She flinched hard, almost dropping the bread she still held. His lips curved into something she had never seen before, a smile. It wasn't sharp, it wasn't cruel. It was soft, almost warm. "Don't be afraid," he said. His voice was low, like a calm wind moving through trees. "I won't hurt you." The words only made her heart pound faster. Was this the trick her people warned of? She wrapped her arms tighter, whispering to herself in her own tongue, trying to keep courage. Then, to her shock, the human placed his tool aside. He reached slowly into his bag and pulled out a small water flask. He lifted it, took a sip himself, then gently placed it between them, close enough for her to reach. His hand moved away slowly, as if showing her he had no plan to grab her. Her lips parted in surprise. She had expected him to demand something, to snarl or show dominance. Instead, he offered. Her throat was dry, her body weak from the storm and hunger. She stared at the flask like it was a trap. But when her eyes rose again, she only found his steady gaze waiting. Her hands trembled as she reached forward. She touched the flask and pulled it close. Her fingers brushed his for a moment, only a second, but the shock that ran through her body made her freeze. His skin was warm, too warm. Her chest tightened in confusion. She drank, water running down her lips. Her eyes never left him. He did not move, did not strike. Only when she lowered the flask did she realize her heart was shaking, not from fear, but something strange, something she did not understand. He leaned forward slightly, his voice quiet. "You're safe here." Safe. The word rolled in her mind, turning everything upside down. She had never felt safe with humans, never even imagined it. Yet here was one who gave her food, gave her water, gave her warmth without demand. The storm outside grew louder, winds howled, sand striking against metal walls like knives. She shivered, her thin clothes no shield against the cold. She tried to hide it, but he noticed. His eyes narrowed with concern. Without warning, he shrugged off his jacket, worn and heavy, and held it out toward her. She gasped, shaking her head quickly. Her voice came out broken. "No, don't." But he simply placed the jacket down in front of her and leaned back, his body language clear. He would not force her. The scent of him lingered in the fabric, strange yet strangely comforting. Her small hands reached out, pulling the jacket slowly. She wrapped it around her shoulders and the warmth spread fast. Her body shook harder, but not from cold this time. She could feel his presence wrapped around her now. Even though he sat apart, her eyes lifted. He was watching her, not with hunger, not with cruelty, but with something she could not name. Her chest tightened again. Her people had said humans were predators. But why did his gaze feel different? The firelight caught his face. His eyes reflected the glow, steady and unblinking. She felt something pull inside her, something new. It was fear, but not the same fear she had always known. This one made her cheeks burn, made her heart stumble. She curled into the jacket, trembling. She could not fight the truth. This human had not bitten, had not devoured. Instead, he had given. And now, with his jacket around her, she felt more trapped by her own thoughts than by him. As the storm raged outside, the silence between them grew heavy. She braced herself again, but not for his teeth. No. This time she braced for the strange warmth spreading through her chest, the warmth his touch and his presence had left behind, and as she shut her eyes tight, one question echoed louder than the storm. What if the danger was not his bite, but the feelings he stirred inside her? The storm outside did not end quickly. Sand rattled against the broken metal of the outpost like endless claws. The alien girl sat curled in the human's jacket, her wide eyes fixed on the fire. She could still feel the weight of his gaze sometimes, and each time it made her chest tighten. He had not hurt her, not once, but fear still clung to her like chains. She told herself not to trust, not to forget the stories. Yet her body remembered his hand brushing dust from her cheek, remembered the warmth of his jacket, remembered the calm in his voice. The human shifted, standing up slowly. He moved to the wall where the storm had ripped a hole. The wind roared through the crack, spraying dust inside. With steady hands, he dragged a piece of broken panel and pushed it against the gap. His strength was clear, his shoulders broad, each movement controlled. She hugged her knees tighter, watching him. Her people had always spoken of humans as destroyers, but here he was, repairing, protecting, making the place safer. She whispered under her breath, "Why? Why is he doing this?" When he returned to the fire, she lowered her eyes quickly, afraid to be caught staring, but he only sat down silent. His face was tired. A cut ran across his jaw, yet his eyes never lost their calm fire. After a long moment, he broke the silence. "This place won't last long," he said, his voice steady. "We'll need to move when the storm clears." Her breath caught. "We?" The word slipped from her lips before she could stop it. He nodded simply. "You shouldn't be out here alone." Her stomach twisted. She wanted to protest, to remind herself he was dangerous, yet part of her burned at the thought. He wanted her with him, not as prey, not as prisoner, but as something else. She didn't know the word for it. Hours passed. The storm howled without mercy. The fire burned low, and the cold crept back. She tried to stay awake, but exhaustion pressed heavy. Her head dipped, her body swayed. Suddenly she felt warmth at her side. Her eyes flew open. The human had moved closer, not touching, but near enough that his heat reached her. She froze, every muscle tense, but his eyes were closed, his breathing slow. He had only shifted to keep her near the fire. Her heartbeat thundered, her mind screamed to pull away, but her body betrayed her. She stayed, trembling under his jacket. The closeness was strange, frightening, yet not the way she expected. This fear was softer, almost sweet. She studied him in secret, his scarred hands resting on his knees, his chest rising and falling in rhythm, his mouth relaxed, no threat of fangs, only a face that looked tired, human, almost gentle. The storm roared, shaking the walls. She flinched at every crash, but each time she looked at him, the fear lessened. As if his presence pushed the storm farther away, her thoughts tangled. Could a human be a shield? Could a human be safe? The idea felt impossible, but the proof was right beside her. At one point, the wind slammed the wall hard. She gasped, her small hand flying out before she could stop it. Her fingers brushed against his arm. His eyes opened instantly, sharp and alert. For a moment, fear spiked inside her. She thought he would grab her, but he only blinked, then asked quietly, "Are you all right?" She pulled her hand back fast, nodding quickly. Her cheeks burned, she couldn't speak. The kindness in his tone left her shaking worse than the storm. He studied her for a moment, then leaned back again. His eyes softened. "Rest," he said. "I'll keep watch." Her chest ached. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to let her eyes close, but trust was heavy, and her people's warnings screamed inside her head. Still, her body betrayed her once again. Her eyelids grew heavy, and she drifted between waking and sleep, always aware of his warmth beside her. In the half-sleep, her mind painted a strange picture. Not a human biting, not a human devouring, but a human standing like a shield before her, a human's hand reaching for hers, not to trap, but to hold. The storm raged on, but inside the broken outpost a different storm was brewing in her chest. She had braced for his bite, but now she braced against something else, something new and terrifying. What if the danger wasn't the storm, wasn't even him, but the feelings he stirred that she could no longer push away? The storm finally calmed, but the night brought a deeper silence. The fire was nothing but glowing embers now, throwing faint light against the cracked walls. The alien girl pulled the human's jacket tighter around her. Her body shook, not only from the cold but from the storm inside her chest. The human sat nearby, his back resting against a wall. His eyes stayed open, scanning the shadows. He looked like a guardian carved from stone, steady, patient, unshaken. She wondered if he ever felt fear, or if humans were truly as fearless as her people had always said. She shifted slightly, the floor cold under her legs. A soft sound escaped her lips before she could stop it, a shiver too strong to hide. At once, his head turned. His eyes met hers, and in the dim light, concern flickered there. "You're freezing," he said quietly. His voice carried no command, only truth. He pushed himself up, and for a heartbeat she panicked. Her body tensed, ready to run, but he only crouched near the fire, adding the last pieces of wood he had gathered earlier. The flames rose a little, but not enough. He turned back to her, and for the first time he moved closer, his steps slow, deliberate, giving her time to pull away if she wished. She pressed back against the wall, her heart racing. He stopped just before reaching her. His face calm, may I? He asked. His hand hovered near the edge of the jacket she wore. She blinked in confusion. Her people had told her humans never asked, that they only took. Yet here he was, waiting for her answer. Her throat tightened. She gave the smallest nod. His hand lifted the jacket carefully, tucking it closer around her shoulders. His fingers brushed her skin for a second, warm and rough. The touch sent a strange spark through her body. She trembled harder, not from fear, but from something else she didn't understand. "You need warmth," he murmured. His voice was softer than the storm, softer even than the fire. Then, instead of pulling away, he settled himself beside her, not touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. Her breath caught. She braced again, certain this was it. This was the moment he would bite. Her whole body stiffened, waiting for pain, but it never came. Instead, he leaned, his head back against the wall, closing his eyes as if resting. The sound of his slow breathing filled the space between them, steady and calm. She turned her face toward him, studying his features. His jaw was strong, his scars deep, but his mouth held no fangs, only softness. Her chest ached. She didn't understand why looking at him made her heart stumble. She wanted to move away, but the warmth was pulling her closer. The cold outside bit at the walls, but inside, the heat of him seeped into her bones. Time slipped by. The night was endless, and silence grew heavier. Finally, unable to stop herself, she whispered, Why are you doing this?" His eyes opened, and for a moment she wished she had stayed silent. His gaze caught hers, steady, unwavering. He answered simply, "Because no one should be alone in the dark." The words pierced her like a blade. Her people had never said such things. No one in her colony spoke about care, about comfort. They only spoke of survival, of fear. Yet here was a human, offering more than she had ever been given. Her eyes burned, but she blinked the feeling away. She could not cry in front of him. She could not show weakness. But inside, her heart shook harder than the storm ever had. He turned his face toward the fire again, closing his eyes once more. She thought he had finished speaking, but then softly he added, "You're safe with me." Her breath hitched. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to let go of the fear, but trust was heavy, and every memory of her people's warnings clawed at her mind still when her eyes drifted closed. The last thing she felt was not terror, but the warmth of the human sitting close beside her. The night pressed on, shadows stretching long across the broken walls, and as she drifted between wakefulness and sleep, one truth haunted her heart. She had braced for his bite, but what terrified her more now was the way her body trembled, not from fear of death, but from the strange burning pull of his presence. Morning came slowly. The storm outside had passed, leaving the outpost covered in a heavy silence. The alien girl opened her eyes to see the human still awake, sitting near the cold ashes of the fire. His head was lowered, his shoulders tired, but his eyes opened the moment she stirred. "You slept?" he said softly. His tone was not sharp, not mocking. It was almost pleased. She looked away quickly, embarrassed. Her people never slept near humans, never trusted them enough. Yet she had closed her eyes beside him, and somehow she had woken unharmed. He stood, stretching his arms. His movements were strong, yet calm. He gathered his things, then looked back at her. "We need to move," he said. "It's not safe to stay here." Her heart raced. The word "we" echoed again in her ears. He did not say, "I will go." He said, "We will go." She hesitated, her hands clutching the jacket tighter. Should she follow? Should she trust? Every warning told her no, but her body moved anyway. Her feet carried her behind him as he stepped out of the ruined dome. The world outside was scarred, sand piled high, broken metal half buried, the sky still dark with clouds. She shivered in the wind, and again he noticed. Without a word, he shifted his pack to one shoulder and draped an arm across her lightly, guiding her through the wreckage. Her chest burned. Every step with him made her heart stumble. She hated the feeling, yet she could not push it away. He walked with confidence, scanning the horizon. She realized then that he wasn't just moving for himself, he was making sure she could keep up. They found another shelter before nightfall, a small chamber half broken but still intact. Inside, he set his pack down and started another small fire. She stayed close to the entrance, watching, always watching. Her people had said humans acted gentle before they struck, but how long could he keep pretending? The flames lit his face again, and this time she found herself staring too long. His scars, his jaw, his steady eyes. Her gaze dropped quickly when he turned toward her. Heat rushed to her cheeks. She hated how weak it made her feel. He sat near the fire and broke silence. "Where is your colony?" he asked. She stiffened, fear rising. Was this his trick? Was he trying to find her people? But his eyes stayed gentle, curious, not hunting. She whispered, "Far gone." Her voice shook. He tilted his head, listening, not pressing. After a long pause, he spoke again, but softer. "I lost mine too." Her eyes widened. She had not expected that. She stared at him, trying to see if it was a lie. But the pain in his voice was real. The silence that followed was heavy, yet different than before. It was not fear. It was something shared. Finally, he looked into the fire, his voice lower. "Where I come from, humans don't only fight," he said. "We care, we build families, we hold those we love close." Her chest twisted. The word love struck her like lightning. Her people never spoke of such a thing. To them, closeness was weakness. Passion was danger. But the way he spoke it made her heart tremble. She hugged the jacket tighter. Her lips trembled as she asked, "Love, what is it?" He turned to her, his gaze deep. "It's when you give without taking, when you protect without asking, when you'd rather suffer yourself than see someone else suffer." His words were simple, but they shook her more than any storm. She could not speak. Her eyes burned. She wanted to look away but couldn't. His eyes held hers, and in them she saw no hunger, no cruelty, only fire that warmed instead of devoured. Her body trembled. She remembered bracing for his bite. But now she braced against this new truth. Humans could give passion, not just pain, and passion burned hotter than any hunger. Slowly, without knowing why, she moved closer to the fire, closer to him. Every instinct screamed to stop, but her heart pulled forward. Her hands shook, her breath caught, the silence stretched. He did not touch her, did not move, but she felt surrounded by him all the same. She could almost feel the beat of his heart, steady, strong, calling to hers. Her voice came out as a whisper, broken and uncertain. "Why do you care for me?" He looked at her, truly looked. His words came low and sure. "Because you matter." Her chest shook. Her throat closed. She had never heard those words before. Not from anyone. The firelight flickered and her heart felt like it was burning with it. She pulled the jacket tighter, pressing her face into the fabric. Her whole body trembled. For the first time, she wasn't trembling in fear of him. She was trembling because of him. She had braced for a bite, but instead, the human's passion had revealed itself. and it left her shaking in ways she could no longer control. The alien girl thought the night would stay quiet. The human had given her words that still echoed in her chest. "You matter." She repeated them silently, holding them close as if they were a shield. She thought nothing could break the fragile peace inside the small shelter, but peace never lasted. Not in this world. It began with footsteps, heavy and sharp, echoing outside the broken chamber. The human's body stiffened at once. His eyes narrowed, his hand reaching for the weapon strapped at his side. He lifted a finger toward her, silent command, "Stay hidden." Her heart leapt, fear crashing into her chest. She pressed against the wall, clutching the jacket close. Then came the voices. Rough, cruel, speaking in a tongue she knew too well. Raiders. They hunted her kind, capturing the weak, selling them for trade. The human moved fast, dragging a piece of metal across the entrance to block their view inside. He crouched low, his weapon ready. His eyes flicked to her once. His gaze was sharp, determined, not afraid. The raiders' shadows stretched across the ground as they drew. Closer, one voice growled, "We know one of them is near, the trackers don't lie." Another answered with a laugh, "If she's here, we'll find her. Her kind sells high, maybe we'll have some fun first." Her blood ran cold. She curled tighter, tears burning her eyes. The human's jaw clenched. His hand tightened on his weapon. She could see the storm. Inside him waiting. Then the metal panel rattled. A raider shoved against it. The human moved like lightning. His weapon struck, a loud crash followed by a scream. The raider fell back, the others shouted, and chaos broke loose. The alien girl gasped, her whole body shook. She wanted to run, to hide, but her eyes locked on the human instead. He fought with a fury that made the raiders hesitate. His strikes were sharp, each movement protecting the entrance. His body a wall between her and them. Blades clashed, fists struck, blood sprayed across the dust. The human took a blow to his side but did not fall. He growled through clenched teeth, pushing forward. Every strike he gave seemed to shout one truth. "I will not let them take her." Her hands pressed against her chest. Her heart broke at the sight. This was not hunger, not cruelty. This was something else, something stronger. One raider slipped past him, rushing inside. His eyes locked on her. She screamed, her voice raw. But before the raider could reach her, the human slammed into him, dragging him back with brute strength. He struck hard. The raider crumpled to the ground. "Stay behind me," he shouted. His voice was thunder. She obeyed without thought, crawling close but keeping him between her and danger. The battle raged. The shelter shook with the weight of it. Finally, the raiders began to retreat, dragging their wounded, curses spilling from their mouths. One shouted, "Not worth it another time." Then they were gone, their shadows swallowed by the dark. The silence that followed was heavy. The human staggered, blood dripping from his arm and side. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard. She rushed to him before fear could stop her. Her small hands reached for his wound. "You're hurt," she whispered. Her voice broke. He shook his head, forcing a smile. "I'm fine." But his blood said otherwise. Tears spilled from her eyes. She pressed her hands to the wound, trembling. Why would you do this for me?" His hand rose, shaking but firm. He touched her cheek again, the same gentle way he had before. His voice was low, heavy with pain but filled with fire. "Because you matter," he repeated. Her whole body shook. Not from fear, not from the storm, not even from the raiders, but from the truth in his words. She had braced for his bite, but instead he had given everything. His strength, his blood, his will, to protect her. She leaned closer, her forehead pressing against his shoulder. Her body trembled, her heart screamed with feelings she did not understand. She could not stop the tears. She did not want to stop them. The human winced but wrapped his arm around her weakly, his breath rough against her ear. "As long as I breathe, no one will take you." Her heart broke and healed all at once. She had never been anyone's to protect, never been anyone's to hold. But now in his arms, She felt something she never thought possible. She braced for his bite. But what left her shaking now was far more dangerous. His passion, his devotion, his choice to bleed for her. And she knew, deep inside, her life could never return to what it was. The alien girl stayed close, her hands trembling as she pressed against the human's chest. His breathing was heavy, ragged from the fight. And yet, he still held her like she was the most fragile thing in the universe. She had never felt such safety, such warmth. She had only known fear, hunger, and loneliness. She looked up at him, her glowing eyes wide and uncertain. You could have died," she whispered, voice cracking. He shook his head, a faint smile breaking through the pain. "Not for you, I couldn't." His hand brushed a strand of hair from her face, gentle, tender, almost sacred. She could feel his heartbeat, strong and steady beneath her hands, and it sent shivers down her spine. For a long moment silence held them, broken only by the distant wind whistling through the broken walls of the shelter. She studied him, seeing every line of strain, every mark of blood, and yet something fierce and unyielding burned in his eyes. She realized she had never met anyone like him, anyone willing to risk everything, just for her. Her small hand hesitated, then moved to touch his cheek, tracing the jagged cut along his jaw. "You did all this? For me?" "Yes." He breathed, wincing as the movement hurt his side. "You're important to me, more than you know." His voice was rough, but it carried a weight that made her chest ache. Her legs trembled, forcing her to sit beside him, leaning. Against his shoulder, her mind spun with a storm of emotions. Fear, relief, gratitude, and something more dangerous, something like longing. I never thought anyone would care," she admitted softly, her voice almost lost. "No one ever fought for me before." He tightened his arm around her, holding her closer despite his own pain. "Then let me be the first," he said, firm, almost a promise. His touch was steady, reassuring, like an anchor in the chaos. The alien girl's body shook, not from fear this time, but from the intensity of what she felt. She wanted to speak, to say the words, but no words came, only a quiet, desperate hope that he would understand without them. The wind outside picked up, rattling the remains of the shelter. But inside, they created their own world, a small sanctuary of warmth, safety, and fragile trust. He pressed his forehead to hers, eyes closing, and she mirrored him, letting the closeness calm the storm inside. "You're shaking," he murmured, feeling her trembling body. I can't help it," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. "Everything, it's too much." He smiled faintly, brushing his thumb along her cheek. "It's okay, let it out." His voice was soft, comforting, and she finally let herself tremble, crying quietly against his chest. Her tears soaked his shirt, but he made no move to pull away, only held her tighter, as if shielding her from the world. Hours seemed to pass in silence, the storm outside fading, leaving only the gentle hum of their breathing. She realized something she had never allowed herself to think. She trusted him completely. Her heart pounded, but not from fear, from something new, something thrilling, terrifying, and beautiful. She lifted her head slightly, looking into his eyes, searching for a sign, a clue to what he felt. He met her gaze steadily, unwavering, a quiet fire burning in his chest, and she knew without words that he felt it too. That same dangerous pull, that same unspoken desire. Her hands clutched his shirt, drawing him closer, and his arm tightened around her. I don't want to be afraid anymore," she admitted, her voice trembling but honest. "You won't be," he promised, his lips brushing hers softly. A gentle, lingering touch, not a bite, not a claim, but a spark that ignited something deep inside her, something she could no longer deny. Her body shook again, but this time it was not from terror. It was from something else, something powerful, something alive. His passion, his protection, his devotion had broken through her walls, and she had no desire to rebuild them. For the first time in her life, she let herself belong, not to the fear that had always haunted her, but to the human who had fought, bled, and risked everything. To hold her, she pressed her forehead against his once more, whispering, I'm yours if you want me." He smiled, the kind of smile that could calm galaxies, and whispered back, "You've always been mine, even when you didn't know it." And in that moment, the alien girl's heart shattered and reassembled into something new, something stronger, something alive. She had braced for fear, braced for pain, but instead she had found a human's passion, and it left her shaking. But this time, she did not want to stop trembling.